If you're feeling broken or lost, then this video is for you. The truth is, it all hurts because it's all real. It's real in your mind, it's real in your heart, as well as your physical body. It all hurts because it all matters. And the more honest that we begin to become with ourselves, the more closer we become to healing. Our health, our wealth, as well as our relationships with others and the world around us. If you're new here, my name is Delvon Bridges, and I am on a mission to help people understand as well as heal from trauma so that it can reach self-mastery and become the most empowered versions of themselves. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 key points on how to overcome that feeling of brokenness and that feeling of loss. We're going to speak about survival mode, what it is, and how to get out of it. We're going to speak about unexpressed emotions. There is power within that. And then, lastly, we're going to speak about how to quit living your life on autopilot. So let's jump right into it. Survival mode. What is survival mode? Survival mode is when you have a dysregulated nervous system. Where does a dysregulated nervous system come from? Well, it can come from big T or small t. So big trauma or small trauma. Big traumas here, you have, big shocking events, car accidents, war, being robbed, shot at. And then of course our small t's. Think about just prolonged stress, right? Burnout, overwhelm, prolonged stress to put it short. Both of these cause a lot of stress on the mind, on the heart, and the body, right? It causes us physical and mental pain. And what these traumas do, and what this state of being in survival mode does, is it keeps us constantly on edge, even if we're safe, causing us physical exhaustion. So I come from a very fast environment, a very dangerous environment, and I constantly had to be on edge for my own sake and for my own survival. Well, I then moved into a much safer, nicer community like this one, and I was finally able to recognize the difference of when I'm actually in a dangerous environment and my mind needs to be on, and when I'm in a safer environment and my mind doesn't need to be on. I don't need to be on edge. I am actually safe. And what this did was this allowed me to focus on tools to regulate my nervous system, like meditation, body scanning, humming. So that's the key here of getting out of survival mode, is focusing on regulating your nervous system. Along with that, I want to share with you guys a very special tool if you do not, or you think you do not have the luxury of going from one environment to the next. And it's this: you actually do. How do you do so? Well, before I was able to go from the community I was in to the community that I'm at now, was the power of focus. The mind is all. What you have to do is train your mind to focus more on what you want. Not what you don't want, but what you do want. And when this happens, you will begin to get doors of opportunity, and it's up to you to recognize these opportunities. But not only just recognize these opportunities, take action on these opportunities and don't retreat. So this is the power of healing your trauma and healing your body, because think about when you feel anxiety, for instance, right? You can have the greatest opportunity to change your life, but if the moment feels too big in your body and in your mind, then you will retreat. And that's the difference of living in survival mode versus your most empowered self, or a better, more wholesome life, and taking action on the things that you deeply desire in your heart. Because you can deeply desire things in your heart and not be aware of them, and then you can also deeply desire things and not take action upon those things based on how you feel and how you think. Those limits will limit you from living a wholesome life. Which all brings me to point number 2. Let's speak about the second thing that will prevent you from living a wholesome life and keep you in that state of feeling brokenness and loss. That is going to be your unexpressed emotions. See, we all have feelings that are either verbally or non-verbally communicated. Here's the thing, we communicate to feel better. Think about when you have good news, you want to share it. Or think about when you're in pain. Think about how you feel sharing your pains with someone you love. You feel more relieved and you feel like you were able to let go and release that pain. The problem is, if you go through trauma, if you went through trauma and you're feeling lost and you're feeling broken, then 9 times out of 10, I can guarantee you that you have repressed emotions. And with these repressed emotions, it all happens unconsciously over time, right? So there are emotions that we avoid. There are emotions that we learn to ignore. And there are emotions that we learn to block out. Going through all the things that I went through in my life, this showed up in many different forms, right? I became super introverted, whether it was drugs and alcohol or partying all day and all night. The thing is I wasn't honoring my emotions. I wasn't recognizing and processing how I felt. I was distracting myself. Some people may distract themselves from work. They overwork themselves to death. But the point is we have to acknowledge our emotions to be able to process them. But of course, firstly, before we're able to process, we have to be able to be aware of our needs. That is the key. Emotional intelligence. How aware are you of your emotions? That is going to be the key. Here's a simple framework to express your needs when you have difficulty expressing your needs or identifying your needs. It's very simple. You have a situation. When you have a situation and you feel triggered or you feel emotionally vulnerable, what you have to simply ask yourself is, what are my needs in this moment? Once you identify what the need is in a moment, the very final step is very simple. You communicate it. But in order for us to communicate something, it requires courage. And the only thing that could prevent you from operating on this framework is judgment. How you judge others as well as how you judge yourself. If you judge yourself negatively for how you feel, then you will never communicate it because you don't believe in it. You reject it, just like how I was saying you reject your emotions. If you judge others or you resent others, then you limit your ability to communicate or convey your needs to that person. Despite how much you may not like them, you still need your needs validated, your boundaries validated. So it's very important for you to have one, awareness, but secondly, the courage to convey the communication. That is why you are feeling broken. That is exactly why you are feeling lost and you are living life on autopilot. You have allowed everything to come at you fast and move intuitively. But the problem is you haven't been living consciously. You've been engaging with your life unconsciously. And unfortunately, your unconscious is filled with pain. So you learn to drift off and you learn not to be present. And you learn to scan and look for problems instead of operating in your most higher self. And you have associated life with pain rather than pleasure. If you come from a lifestyle like I came from, which is extreme poverty, struggle, and trauma, then of course you're going to be on autopilot. It wasn't until I realized the power that self-esteem holds. How much do you like yourself? Because here's the thing, the more that you like yourself, the more that you're going to put your best foot forward, the more you're going to show up for yourself, the more you're going to fully engage in every activity. And whether you realize it or not, that shows up in life. It shows up on how others view you, but most importantly, how you view yourself, which leads to my final point of unconditional self-love. This is what you must have for yourself. And this is going to come through self-awareness. Again, acknowledging your thoughts, acknowledging your emotions, and even acknowledging your habits. How do you speak to yourself? How do you treat yourself? How do you feel and think about yourself? In order for you to even do that, you must take full responsibility for your life. When I really accepted that no one was coming to save me, I must save myself. I must heal. The damage has been done. But with taking responsibility, you put the power right back into your hands. And that's what you must do to live a fulfilled life. This is what you must do to overcome that feeling of brokenness and feeling lost. It's the only way. You must take responsibility. Take responsibility for the people you cannot forgive, for the things that you've done that you have not forgiven within yourself. Even forgive the limitations of everybody else in this world. No one is perfect. But every single day, so as long as you're breathing, you have the power to create change. So we spoke about living in survival mode. We spoke about unexpressed emotions and the power of that. And we also spoke about how to overcome living in autopilot. Today, you may feel broken. You may feel lost. But remember this, until you learn yourself, that being your thoughts, that being your emotions and your behaviors, you will never learn who you are and what you are capable of. This is why I want you to be honest with yourself. Accept your emotions because they are your truth. Learn what your needs are and express them with courage. And instead of allowing your life, your one life, to be guided by external reality or external validation, validate the person within. Because that's the only thing that matters. And you're fully capable of it. It just requires action as well as courage. I love you. I hope this video was super helpful. If you liked it, give me a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.